Gas station worker discovers a baby in a box. But what happened the next day terrified him. It was another slow, exhausting night shift. Daniel yawned and wiped his greasy hands on his worn-out overalls. The gas station on the outskirts of a provincial town quietly lived its own life. Rare trucks stopped by for coffee. Drivers with sleepy faces. Daniel knew every crack in the asphalt here. It wasn't his dream job, but it paid the bills and helped support Emma, his wife. His heart ached. 10 years together and no children. Doctors gave little hope, incompatibility, low chances. Emma was fading before his eyes, and Daniel felt helpless. He often dreamed of little footsteps running through their home, of cheerful laughter. He wanted to see that spark back in Emma's eyes that had vanished after years of failed attempts. Around 3 a.m., when silence was broken only by occasional cars, Daniel heard a strange sound. He first thought it was his imagination, but it repeated. Faint whimpering. It came from the restroom area. What the hell? Daniel muttered, heading over. Maybe someone passed out or got sick, he thought. Pushing the door open, he froze. There on the floor, near the toilet, was a cardboard box. Ordinary, with holes and tied with twine. The sound came from inside. Cautiously crouching, Daniel untied the box. Inside, on an old folded towel, lay a baby. A tiny girl wrapped in a cheap blanket. Her little hands and feet barely moved as she slept peacefully. Daniel's heart raced. He had never held a newborn. Awkward and overwhelmed, he stared. A note lay beside her. With shaky hands, Daniel unfolded it. Please take care of her. I can't. His heart skipped a beat. Who could abandon a child like this? In such a place, at night? Desperation. His first instinct was to call the police. That's what he should do. But something inside resisted. He imagined the girl taken to a hospital, then an orphanage, and that would be the end. Instead, he gently picked up the box and stepped outside. The gas station was deserted and silent under the dim lamps. Okay, Daniel whispered. I'll call them tomorrow, just for now, she'll stay with us. Yes, he knew this was madness. But he couldn't turn away. Driving home felt surreal. The baby slept quietly on the passenger seat. Daniel drove slowly, afraid to wake her. At home, everything was silent. Emma waited, worried. Dan, why so late? Did something happen? She asked, seeing him with the box. Daniel, still in shock, carried the box to the living room table. What is this? Emma asked, confused. Daniel took a deep breath and told her everything. The night shift, the sounds, the box. His words tumbled nervously, afraid of her judgment. Emma listened in stunned silence. When Daniel finished, she approached and peeked inside. Oh my God! She whispered, seeing the sleeping baby. Daniel braced for anger, for rejection. But Emma said nothing. She just stared. And in her eyes, he saw something he hadn't seen for years. Hope. She's so tiny, Emma murmured softly, gently stroking the girl's cheek. Relief flooded Daniel. I'll call the police in the morning, he said. That's the right thing to do. Morning came bright and sunny, as if celebrating the little miracle. Daniel left for work heavy-hearted, leaving Emma with the baby. At work, Daniel couldn't stop thinking about them. He planned to call child services after his shift. Back home, Emma had transformed. She sang lullabies, changed diapers like a natural, and lovingly called the girl Sunshine. Laughter and warmth filled their home again. Emma looked alive, truly alive, after years of grief. But everything changed that evening. Midway through Daniel's shift, a black SUV pulled into the station. A tall, muscular man with cold eyes and short dark hair stepped out. His presence was intimidating. He approached Daniel at the counter and asked without greeting, Hey, heard you found a kid here? Daniel froze. Sorry? I don't know what you're talking about, he tried to deny. The man smirked, his teeth jagged and cruel. No need to lie. Word travels fast in this town. Where's the baby? Fear gripped Daniel. I've already reported to the police. They're handling everything. Police? The man sneered. They don't decide what happens here. Where's the mother? You know where she is. No, Daniel said firmly, trying to hide his fear. In that moment, Daniel realized this man was dangerous. And somehow, he was tied to the baby's past. The stranger's visit and the terrifying threat. The man stared deeply at Daniel, as if trying to look into his soul. All right, he finally said. I like you. Honest guy. I just wanted to know if the kid is okay. If you find out anything about the mother or the child, call me. He handed Daniel a business card. It simply read Sergey, with a phone number. No company name. No address. Without another word, Sergey turned and walked back to his car. The SUV roared to life and quickly disappeared into the night. Daniel stood there for a long moment, anxiety growing inside him. He felt sure this was no coincidence. Flying home in fear, Daniel knew he had to warn Emma. He had to protect Annie. Emma met him at the door, smiling radiantly. She was holding Annie, wrapped in a soft blanket. Look how beautiful she is. Emma beamed, bringing the baby closer. Daniel hugged Emma and kissed Annie gently on the head. He couldn't ruin Emma's happiness, not now. I'll tell her later, Daniel decided. That evening, while Annie slept peacefully in her crib, Daniel told Emma everything about Sergey. He described his threatening tone and cold demeanor. Emma listened quietly at first, her face tense with fear, but soon her expression turned determined. We're not giving her up, Emma said firmly. But Emma, this is dangerous, Daniel argued. We don't know who Sergey really is or what he's capable of. I only know one thing, Emma replied, her voice strong. I can't give her up. Daniel embraced Emma, understanding her pain. He too couldn't imagine life without Annie anymore. That night, loud knocking woke them up. Daniel jumped out of bed and peeked out the window. No one was there. When he opened the door, he found a note attached to a brick. Return her, it read in big, uneven letters. Daniel froze. They were in danger. He knew he had to act fast. Grabbing Sergey's card, Daniel called the number. Who is this? A raspy voice answered. This is Daniel from the gas station, he said, his voice tense. Oh, it's you, Sergey replied coldly. Something happened? I want to know, why do you want the baby? There was silence. Then Sergey laughed darkly. Trying to be a hero, huh? Bad idea. Just give her back and everything will be fine. I don't know where the mother is, Daniel lied. But I know she's scared of you. There was another pause. That idiot Olivia? Sergey muttered. She'll answer to me soon enough. What did you do to her? Daniel asked angrily. Not your business. Just return the kid, or you'll regret it. Sergey hung up. Daniel stared at his phone, furious and afraid. He knew he had to find Olivia. He needed answers. And above all, he needed to protect Annie and Emma. Daniel began his own investigation. He asked neighbors, coworkers, and anyone he could. But nobody knew Olivia. It was like she had vanished. Still, Daniel refused to give up. He knew time was running out. Sergey could come back any moment. And he did. The next day, when Daniel returned home from work, he found their apartment door kicked open. Inside was chaos. Everything was overturned. Emma sat on the floor, clutching Annie tightly. She was in shock but unharmed. He was here, Emma whispered, looking for her. Thank God we weren't home. Daniel hugged them both tightly. He had failed to protect them. I think we need to leave, Emma said quietly. Somewhere far where he can't find us. Daniel shook his head. He'll find us. He won't stop until he gets what he wants. What does he want? Emma asked desperately. Daniel shrugged. Revenge? Money? I don't know. But we need to talk to Olivia. We need to understand what's really going on. Emma looked at him, surprised. Help her? After what she did, leaving Annie at the gas station? I know it's hard to accept, Daniel replied softly. But we don't know her story. If she loves Annie and wants what's best for her, we need to help. Determined, Daniel dialed Olivia's number again. He had tried calling before, through contacts, police acquaintances, but no luck. This time, the phone rang. Hello, came a shaky, quiet voice. Olivia? Daniel asked gently. There was silence on the other end. It's Daniel. We found your daughter. More silence, and then soft sobbing. I know, Olivia whispered. We need to meet, Daniel said calmly. No, it's too dangerous. He's watching me, Olivia replied fearfully. We can help you, Daniel urged. We can protect you and Annie. After a long pause, Olivia agreed. She gave him a time and place. Daniel knew this was risky, but he was ready to risk everything to save Annie and Emma. The night before the meeting, he couldn't sleep. Thoughts of Sergey, Olivia, and the danger that surrounded them kept him awake. The next evening, when it was dark, Daniel, Emma, and little Annie left for the meeting place, a remote park far from town. The tension was unbearable. Emma clutched the car door handle tightly, terrified. Daniel's fingers nervously tapped the steering wheel of their old SUV. In the back seat, innocent little Annie slept peacefully, unaware of the storm swirling around her life. The truth is revealed and the final stand. No, Emma, I'm not sure, Daniel admitted quietly, but we have no other choice. We need to know the truth. We need to understand what to do next. When they arrived at the meeting point, they spotted a lonely figure wrapped in an old coat. It was Olivia. Her face was pale and hollow, clearly showing signs of terror. She glanced around nervously, as if expecting someone to stab her in the back. Daniel turned off the engine and stepped out, feeling his palms sweat. Emma stayed inside the car, too afraid to come closer. Hello, Olivia, Daniel greeted gently, trying to remain calm. Olivia flinched and looked at him with fearful eyes. Thank you for coming, she whispered. We're here to help, Daniel assured her. Please, tell us what's going on. Who is Sergey and why is he after Annie? Olivia took a deep breath and began her story. Her voice trembled, and words broke off, but Daniel listened closely, not missing a single detail. Sergey, it turned out, was not just a former partner, he was a tyrant. He drank, beat her, and constantly humiliated her. When Olivia became pregnant, things got worse. He didn't want a child, saw her as a burden, and after Annie was born, he became completely monstrous. He demanded Olivia give Annie to an orphanage, claiming she would ruin their lives. I was afraid for her life, Olivia sobbed. I knew what he was capable of. That's why I ran. I left her at the gas station, hoping kind people would find her. She broke down, covering her face. Daniel stood silently, processing what he had heard. He understood Olivia had acted out of pure desperation and maternal instinct. Why does Sergey want Annie now? Daniel asked. What does he want from her? Olivia wiped her tears. I don't know. Maybe he changed his mind. Maybe he wants to sell her. He has always had criminal connections. Suddenly, the sound of screeching brakes shattered the silence. A black car raced toward them and came to a halt. Two men jumped out. One of them was Sergey. There she is, the witch. Sergey shouted, pointing at Olivia. Give me my child. Daniel reacted instantly. He pushed Olivia aside and stepped between her and Sergey. Stop. She owes you nothing, Daniel shouted bravely, despite his fear. Sergey glared at him with hatred. And who the hell are you? Stay out of this if you want to stay alive. This is my business now, Daniel replied firmly. I won't let you hurt them. The tension rose rapidly. Sergey approached, his eyes burning with fury. Daniel knew a fight was unavoidable, but he was ready to defend Olivia and Annie with his life. Emma, drive away now. Daniel shouted without looking back. Take Annie and go. Emma, terrified, started the car. She understood Daniel was buying them time. She hit the gas and sped away. Sergey tried to block the car, but Daniel stood in his way. A fight broke out. Sergey was stronger, more experienced, but Daniel fought with the desperation of a cornered animal. At one point, Daniel managed to break free and ran to Olivia. Call the police. Tell them Sergey is threatening you and the baby, he yelled. Without hesitating, Olivia ran towards town. Sergey tried to chase her, but Daniel blocked him again. Leave her alone, Daniel shouted, landing a punch. Sergey stumbled back. You'll regret this, Sergey hissed. He pulled a knife. Daniel froze. This could be the end. But in that moment, police sirens wailed in the distance. Emma had already called them. Sergey hesitated. He knew his time was up. We'll meet again, he snarled before running to his car with his accomplice. The black car screeched as it sped off, vanishing into the night. Daniel stood there, breathing heavily, holding his bleeding side. The police arrived and took statements from Daniel and Olivia. Emma returned the moment she heard the sirens, rushing to Daniel in tears and hugging him tightly. After questioning, they all went to the police station. Olivia filed charges against Sergey and told the officers everything. They promised to protect her and Annie. Later that night, Daniel and Emma returned home, exhausted and emotionally drained. Annie slept peacefully in her crib, unaware of how close she had come to losing everything. Emma sat beside Daniel, holding his hand. What do we do now? She asked softly. Daniel sighed deeply. I don't know, Emma. But I know we did what we had to do. We protected Olivia and Annie. A few days later, Olivia called. She was in a safe location, under police protection. She thanked Daniel and Emma for everything. I'll never forget your kindness, Olivia said. Daniel and Emma then faced a tough decision. They realized they wouldn't adopt Annie. They knew her place was with her mother, even if that meant living in hiding. It was painful, but they knew it was right. Soon after, Annie was reunited with Olivia. Saying goodbye was heartbreaking. Daniel and Emma kissed and hugged Annie as they wept. But they also felt peace. They knew they had done everything they could to help that little girl. Later, they began discussing adoption. They realized they were ready to become parents, to share their love with a child in need. They started the process, knowing it would be long and difficult. But they were ready. One evening, while looking through pictures of Annie, Emma smiled. You know, Dan, she said, I think Annie came into our lives for a reason. She showed us that we're capable of so much more. That we can love, protect, and sacrifice. Daniel hugged her tightly. You're right, Emma. Annie changed us forever. And I'm grateful to her for that. They sat quietly, gazing out the window. The moon shone gently over the peaceful little town. Daniel and Emma held each other's hands, feeling warmth, hope, and a sense of a new beginning.